Hi everyone, welcome to the 2020 Pour the Industry event. Today I am your moderator, Aliana Martin, and I currently serve as your National Region 1 Vice President. On today's event, we have three extraordinary women pursuing their career in the medical field, accomplishing their goals. Today, they will discuss how they define the odds and are successful individuals today, and how you can do the same. First up, we have Bethany Siffy, who is a certified physician assistant specializing in gynecology and obstetrics. Bethany is a graduate from St. Vincent College, class of 2014, and Chapman University, class of 2016. Next up, we have Jasmine Rains. She is a registered hygienist, as well as she serves working in a general dental practice in Frederick. Currently, she has a degree completion program in her bachelor's degree and as well as a master's program through Bridgeport University. In her free time, she likes to bake and to sew. Lastly, we have Julie Kuchuch. Originally a graduate from the nursing school in Norfolk, Virginia, Julie received her diploma as a registered nurse and chose to further her education, obtaining a bachelor's in science from MCV Richmond, Virginia, and a master's in science from the University of Virginia. Let's hear it for these amazing women. All right, to begin, I just have a few questions for the panel. Let's hear some more stuff about you all. Starting off with Julie. Hi, Julie. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? So, Julie, the question that I have for you today is, why did you decide to pursue a career in the medical field?
Well, I had always wanted to be a nurse since I was a child. I had several aunts who were in the nursing profession. As I continued on and became a nurse, I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to further my career and do more than what I could do as a registered nurse. So that's why I went back to school to become a nurse practitioner.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that's awesome. Currently, I'm a medical student as well, and I want to pursue a career as an RN or a physician assistant. So I'm really excited to meet you all today. Another question I have for you is, as a nurse, you face many obstacles balancing your home life and work. So what advice would you give to students who are juggling multiple things?
Well, it's really hard. I mean, I went through all of that, especially at the beginning of my career where I was working as a nurse. I was actually going back to school to get my bachelor's degree because my original school, I just had a diploma. So it was really hard. I had to take it slow, and sometimes I had to just take one class at a time. And sometimes I had to, really, spend extra time in the evenings when I wanted to be out socializing to get ahead. But it's difficult. I think, if you're very interested and very, it's something that you want, you'll be able to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My last question for you is, as a nurse practitioner beginning, what are some good jobs that you would recommend someone to start off with?
Honestly, so what I do is I work in gynecology and obstetrics and also in fertility, which I absolutely love. But I think as a beginning nurse practitioner, I honestly think the best path is to do something a little more general, like family practice. And I did that for a few years. It was very hard and it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but it gave me a great foundation for, just a basis of medicine, and just being able to rely on that over the years has been very helpful. And the same with nursing. I mean, I think that there's a lot of subspecialties that you can do, but I think it's great to get into like a regular, med surge, or, something where you're going to really pick up a lot of basic medical and nursing information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking the time to give a little bit about your story and how some tips that you would recommend as a nurse.
You're welcome.
Next, I would like to ask Bethany just a few questions.
Okay, go ahead. Hi.
Hi. So Bethany, as a physician assistant, why did you choose that field? Because I know it's similar to an MD and a nurse practitioner because you're able to diagnose and treat patients. So what was it that was your calling to become a PA?
So I think I first got introduced to the field actually in high school. I shadowed a PA in OB-GYN for about a year off and on, and fell in love with the field. But I was considering pursuing a field in the like a medical degree to be a physician for a while. But when I was in college getting my undergrad, I really wanted more of a work-life balance. And with being a physician assistant, you can truly, enjoy both work and, have a social life, have a family life. So that really appealed to me. And since I already had went into my bachelor's in science, and instead of going the nursing route, I decided to go and pursue a nurse practitioner degree. I had looked into being a physician assistant instead, and the education ended up working out better for me and the timing. So that's how I got to where I am now.
That's a really cool story. Thank you so much. So as you mentioned, you were introduced to the field in high school. For students on this call today in high school, what courses would you recommend them to take if they want to become a PA?
So I think just in high school, I'm not looking back, I'm not sure how many courses were offered for me that would have been super helpful. I think it's really getting into college and doing like basic medical like terminology classes and your basic science classes, a lot of like biology, anatomy. Those are the types of things that are going to introduce you, to the kind of the building blocks that you need. And then eventually we'll get more specialized in terms of your classes. So a lot of like, your math and your science, those classes are going to be helpful, at least in the beginning.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. The next question I'd like to ask you is, I'm sure you hear this a lot, but for the panelists, what is the difference between a physician assistant and a medical doctor?
So the biggest difference, and there is some differences between like, depending on where you practice, like state to state, there's different like policies in place. But for me, the biggest difference between a physician assistant and a medical doctor is the amount of time that I'm able to spend with patients. So I'm not doing as much in administrative work. I'm able to really focus my time on my patients and their patient education. And that's appealing to me because as a doctor, you're kind of spread thin throughout multiple different areas like surgery and outpatient and inpatient. But as a physician assistant, you can really, become specialized and then have the freedom to really interact with your patients on a much more deeper level, which is a great thing to have. You have a lot more time to spend with your patients, so it's important.
Definitely, I agree with that. The one-on-one contact with your patient and getting to know them is essential. So thank you for pointing that out.
Of course.
So next, I would just like to ask Jasmine a few questions about you and your profession.
Okay, there we are. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So Jasmine, as a dental hygienist, what do you do? What is the thing that you love going to work for?
Well, I've always been fascinated with teeth. I was actually supposed to be a nurse. I was almost finished with my nursing degree when I decided that I liked going to my job as a dental assistant at the time more than I liked going to school for nursing. So I just switched everything over and studied the path of dental hygiene. It's the education, it's the looking for oral diseases, it's just helping people, talking to them more on a one-on-one basis. So I just thought I needed to get into something that I loved more, and I was fascinated with teeth. I was just fascinated with fixing people's teeth and smiles, and I wanted to be a dentist at first, but I had small children that I rather take care of. So I went dental hygiene way.
That's really cool. I'm like kind of shocked on how you were a nurse, like that was a path, and then you changed to dental. I think that's really cool, and like that's a cool story to share.
Thank you.
That being said, so can you explain what do you do as a dental hygienist rather than a dentist?
So the dental hygienist, it's so funny because a lot of people are not sure with the dental assistant, the dental hygienist. But the dental hygienist, obviously, we have a degree to study and practice because we are responsible for, looking for oral diseases, treating periodontal diseases. We're crucial with education with patients. And so the dentist is responsible for more of the restorative or fixing cavities and things like that. And they're dealing with the actual tooth structure, where we're dealing more with the gums and the education and the kind of barrier between the dentist and the dental hygienist. But both are providers, less schooling, of course, but the dental assistant does not have the same qualifications to do some of the things a dental hygienist does.
Wow, that's really cool. I never knew the difference between the two. So thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So for a student who wants to pursue a career in the dental field, what would you recommend them to take, and how should they accomplish that goal?
So my biggest thing, I think everybody should immerse themselves in an area that they think that they want to go into. For me, being a dental assistant is crucial because dental is so specific. I mean, I always wanted to be a nurse and I knew what that entailed, but a lot of people don't know what dentistry, what exactly a dental hygienist or assistant does. So I always say, maybe find a dentist that you can shadow and be an assistant for. Some places on job train as a dental assistant, which is nice. But just make sure that you are interested actually in that field by volunteering maybe, or even working as a dental assistant first, because then you take the same type of classes, science classes, and pretty much all the same courses, which is the reason why I was able to switch over from nursing to dental hygiene, because I had pretty much almost all the coursework. But definitely shadowing. I think dental field is very specific, and so you want to make sure that you enjoy it. So I would imagine shadowing a dental office to see if you like it first.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So for the whole entire panel, you guys can unmute at this point, and I would just like to ask you some broader questions, such as, does your job make you happy? Some people in the chat are saying, does your job make you happy? Is it still the same to COVID-19?
I guess I can answer first. I just thought about something, COVID-19 has been very difficult for all of us, I'm sure. I mean, we're frontline workers, nurses, I'm just physician assistants, doctors, all of them. I'm just so respectful of everyone in our field doing what we do right now, because it's a very difficult time. At the same time, we have lots of people that are looking out for us to be calm and still continue to do our work, because we are in public health. I mean, we are taking care of people, and we still need to continue to do that safely, of course, but it's rewarding, but it's very scary right now. There's just no other way to put it.
Right, I definitely agree. I currently work in the office, so I see what you're saying. It's so true. You got to be essential. Bethany or Julie, do you guys also have anything you would like to add? Some more people are saying, what extracurriculars benefit a career path in medicine?
I would say probably a second language, because especially Spanish, because there's such a large amount of Spanish speaking people in the United States, but also, I mean, I would say any language is beneficial, because there are many patients who will fall into those categories. And when you're the one and only provider in the office that can do that, it's really beneficial.
That's great. I agree with that. My patient load is very diverse in the emergency department. And we, of course, have like translator options available, but to have that extra skill set is definitely a benefit if you're able to.
Another question is, how do you find physician assistants or doctors?
What's the question? Sorry.
The question is, how do you find physician assistants or doctors to shadow?
To shadow. So I would, I think the easiest thing for me was to, like my hometown, like ask, my family doctor or, pediatrician or someone that you're, familiar with, or your mom or dad or some family member might know. You can kind of start there. Most, practices are willing to take students or to take, potential students for at least just shadowing. Obviously, you can't do a lot of hands-on stuff, but it's beneficial to just watch, see what we're doing in the field, or like local hospitals, kind of starting there, and reaching out and asking. A lot of, providers are, I feel, at least where I work, are very willing to take students to shadow.
Thank you so much. So for anyone who else is asking that in the chat, like she said, just try to reach out to a local physician or a PA or a nurse, and they'll be more than happy 9 times out of 10 to allow you to shadow. Another question is, what is the best and the worst part of your jobs? And this is for all of you.
I would say that one of the best things is forming relationships with patients and really being able to make a difference in their lives. In gynecology, obstetrics, and fertility, obviously a very exciting time. And when things go well, you're a part of that. On the downside, a really difficult time is if they have a miscarriage or they, obviously bad things do happen. That makes your job really tough, and sometimes it's hard to go on with that. But I think overall, the good times always outweigh the bad times, and you really should, choose a profession. Not even a profession, but just a subspecialty that you really enjoy. And if it's the one good thing that I think with nurse practitioners and physician's assistants is that you can switch. If you're in family practice and it's not cutting it for you, you can go to something like gynecology or dermatology. Whereas in medicine, that's a little more difficult. Obviously there's definite pluses to being a medical doctor, but I think being able to switch and make yourself happy is really a plus.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. What else would you guys like to add on to the best and worst parts of your jobs?
I wanted to add just something really quick because we have some really neat things going on in dental hygiene. People think it's very specific, and we always have, every health field, I think, has people fighting for, different rights and different things within your field. And we have something that's similar to a nurse practitioner program for dental hygienists who want to do more, who have a master's program and who want to continue and further in their education. We have a program called a dental therapist, which is a nurse practitioner in the nursing field for the dental hygienists. And so it's really neat that there's more opportunities if you want to further your education in dental hygiene as well, that you can do more. And you can go into public health and do small procedures like dental procedures and things like that. So the dental field is really changing. It's really neat. And I saw somebody asking about what classes. Chemistry and sciences, microbiology just do really well in those courses because it just seems to be the biggest classes in all these health fields. But it's definitely rewarding. In dentistry, you get to see patients every day. It's what us health workers of all kind love. We just love helping people, whether it's for their smile, for their health, because right now the mouth is the gateway to the whole body right now. And we're having heart issues happen because of people who are not taking good care. So helping people in general, it seems to be the biggest idea, whatever field you're in the health field, in the health sciences. But it's always rewarding when we can do that. And we always have our bad times too. So, but I definitely love it.
Thank you so much. I think that really did help. Someone in the chat is actually interested in the dental industry. So I'm sure you explained her question very well. So thank you.
Oh, good. You're welcome.
Another question is, how flexible are your schedules?
For me, my schedule is actually pretty flexible. I work in the emergency department, specifically doing obstetrics and gynecology. And there's me and two other consultant providers, so we're able to kind of make our own schedule. But saying that, I have learned to be very flexible with my own schedule because, the ER is very unpredictable. So if you are interested in emergency medicine, the likelihood of getting out on time for your shifts is not always ideal, not always probable. But the environment, if you're into that like fast-paced environment, it kind of outweighs that, I think. So flexibility is great, I think, as a PA, depending on the field that you go into. So you can have some flexibility if you want to work in the operating room, outpatient. You kind of have lots of different options as a PA.
Thank you so much. It seems like it's a fun job to do and that you're able to switch your profession and that you can have a good flexible schedule. Another question is, were any of you in HOSA or SkillsUSA?
No.
No, I wasn't.
Did any of you participate in any extracurricular activities or outside organizations?
I did some.
Oh, go ahead. Julie, you go first.
Okay. I for a long time was in a group called Operation Smile. It's based out of Norfolk, Virginia, and they did cleft work and palate work. Actually, you probably know a little bit about that, Jasmine. We had dentists, hygienists, pediatric intensivists, nurses, medical students. But the goal was to really give back to many communities in many different countries where you need to repair the cleft lip and palate for children and even, unfortunately, some adults. So I found a lot of joy in helping with that group. And I did that for a lot of years until I had 3 kids and couldn't go as much as I would like to. But yeah, that was a big extracurricular for me that I really enjoyed that had to do with healthcare.
Yeah, that's the thing about, and Julie mentioned it, the same thing is like in our field, there's so many opportunities to also give back. I mean, the Mission of Mercy does, dental hygienists will give their, free time on a Saturday or whatever other day and just be in a place where they're providing free dental care to many people. And so there's so many people in our field that will show up, nurses, anybody who can provide any type of health care and just provide that for people who can't afford it. I know I was supposed to go to a mission in Dominican Republic to provide free dental care. And so it's opportunities are limitless if you love your position, and you'll do it for anybody who will want it, type of thing. So, but definitely giving back to the community is huge because there's a lot of people who can't afford this stuff. And if we're in a position where we can give it when we can, we do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Julia, a question for you is, what is the hardest part about being a nurse practitioner?
The best part?
The hardest part.
Oh, hardest part. Honestly, sometimes I wish I was a medical doctor. There are some things that I would like to do that I think I'm being held back, and I have the ability and the capability to do certain procedures. And so sometimes I feel bad and wish I could do those things and make, more of the higher level decisions. But again, I hate to say that, what my career was not the right choice for me, because at the time, education wise, just the things that were going on in my life, I think that I made the right choice. And I do have the flexibility with my schedule that I don't know that I would have had as a medical doctor. Having 3 kids, I think it's a nice balance. And so it's hard. Like, I wish I would have gone on to become a medical doctor, but at the same time, maybe I wouldn't be as happy. I'm not sure. It's really hard to say.
Thank you so much for your honesty and just being so vulnerable with telling us the pros and cons of being a nurse practitioner. I know that it definitely will help many people because it's helping me within my own decision of PA or a nurse practitioner or RN. Another question is for all of the panel, do you have any recommendations on how to get money for college, such as scholarships? Or any specific medical scholarships students can apply for?
Just Google as much as you can. There's so much money available for different fields. There's women in dental hygiene and nursing, and I mean the money is out there. It's just a matter of finding it. I mean, we went on every website we can find, to even if it's $100 to 5,000 scholarships. But there's so many websites dedicated to different fields, and Scholarship Owl is one of them. And you just put in your field, and they'll show you all the scholarships available. But it's just looking for it. It could be in the weirdest of places, but just getting on there and getting as much information as you can, and just Google.
Thank you so much.
I would say, no, I didn't receive any type of help just undergraduate, but when I went to UVA, I was very worried about how I was going to pay for that education. And they told me in their office that through the state of Virginia, and again, this is 20 years ago, but there may be similar programs, that there was grants and that I would never have to pay anything. I never paid a penny for the 2 years that I spent at UVA. And I also became a research assistant for one of the professors and earned a stipend so that I could use that towards my apartment and that sort of thing. So I was actually shocked to find out that there was those kinds of opportunities. I had no idea. I was really worried about it, but it was something that just kind of happened. So I think you have to check with counselors. You have to check with the admissions office of the schools, and hopefully there will be other programs for people.
Yeah, I will say I received a few scholarships. Like there's some grant programs out there, like leadership grants and things. And I remember my counselor in college was like my mentor, was very helpful in helping me, pointing me in the right directions to apply for those when I was applying for graduate school. So reaching out to them, I think, is really beneficial. And like Julie said, in looking for research opportunities, or like being like a graduate research assistant or something like that to get some extra money, because it's hard to, for me, it was really hard for me to have a job during my graduate training. So if there was a way to do that on campus, I think it's beneficial.
Thank you guys all so much. This definitely is very helpful. A question. Oh, Jasmine, would you like to share?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Oh, sorry. I just seen you unmuted. A question is, as all of you are in a medical program, you're going to meet so many patients with ups and downs, highs and lows. How do you stay mentally and emotionally strong? How do you cope?
Yeah, I think I deal with this a lot on my job, because I'm in the emergency department, and it's very, most times people coming into the emergency department are for a legitimate, more intense reason. And as an OB provider, the majority of patients I'm seeing are suffering through pregnancy loss. And that is a very emotional period for them. For me, I think it's really helpful to spend the extra time with the patient. Sometimes, I get emotional with them, and I think that they, there's a line that you don't want to cross. But I think most patients in those situations, especially recently when we were limiting visitors with the COVID pandemic, they really appreciate you being real and honest with them, and letting them feel what they're feeling during those times. So, it's you want to keep that professional aspect to the job. And I tend to, so I don't get too emotionally or mentally burnt out from it, I tend to reflect each night or each week on like a really good patient that I was able to help, and that kind of gets me through the really bad times, because we are making a difference no matter what we're doing. So it's a great feeling at the end of the day.
I had a good feeling about our field actually just today, because it's so hard, because especially with everything going on right now and deciding whether we're going to provide dental care in such a pandemic, it's the importance of oral health care comes in question. And then I start realizing, the whole thing that we talk about, oral health care, is so important right now. And I love that a patient came in today and said that their cardiologist isn't going to clear them for a surgical procedure because of their disease in their mouth. And I just thought to myself, we are all working together to get everyone healthy, and it's just knowing that and how important you are to these patients' health that just keeps you doing what you do in any aspect. I mean, every single person has their importance. And just when you start thinking about what you do, especially right now in this crazy time, you think we're doing what we do because we don't know what else to do. We help people because we love it, and that keeps us going even in the hardest of times. It's rewarding.
Absolutely. Thank you both for sharing, because not all medical professions or not in all patients or situations is going to be glamorous. So thank you for, again, being vulnerable and just being honest with the panelists and the students. Another question is, what were some helpful study habits that you all had when pursuing your careers?
Don't procrastinate. That's the worst, because I tell you what, and I'm sure everybody agrees with me in the health field, there's a lot of intense classes. It's doable, trust me, because I mean, we're doing it. But procrastination is just not a good thing. Just keep time management. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You can do things you want. I mean, I was supposed to go to dental school and I ended up not going to dental school because I had two daughters that I rather raise at the time, and I'm in a program now for a master's degree to be a dental therapist, and procrastination has just gotten me. So, and I know it's easy to do, but just time management, keep on time and have good time skills, and no procrastinating. Do things when you can, when you have the time, and you can probably try to manage everything the best you can.
I agree with that. And then I would add, for me, what was really helpful was to form like a small study group, and not necessarily like with your best friends, because I don't know how much work you always get done when you're, having fun with your friends, but a few people that are motivated like you are, to get together with them and bounce ideas off of, was really helpful for me, and to ask for help when you need it. If you're struggling with a class, to reach out to your like fellow students, because a lot of them are willing to help, and for me, I learned better in a group. So that was helpful for me to, form like a study group like a few times a week, to go over kind of what you guys learned in class that day.
Yeah, support groups are huge. Even now as a dental hygienist, it doesn't end after school, because we're on Facebook with like hygienists and assistants in the health field. And if there's stuff that even nurses I have in my group, because I'm just like, hey, I have this patient that has something going on and they're about to have a surgical procedure, and how do you manage this, or what do you think about this? And it's just, you always need support. I don't care where it is, but you just need support for whether it's studying or in your field. So just get a good group of people that are doing the same thing that you're trying to do.
Absolutely. I think the same. Procrastination is something that so many people struggle with, myself included. So these are really great tips. So thank you. Thank you both. Another question for all of you is, did the pandemic affect how much hours you worked, or do you guys still work the same hours before, or if not more?
For me, it has had somewhat of an impact on the hours that I'm working in the ER setting. And more recently, especially with the increase in cases that we're seeing. So I've been working a lot later hours, needing to adjust for when my colleagues are off, picking up their shifts. So have definitely had to be flexible in my schedule. That's much more recent though. I really haven't noticed an effect like earlier on this year when this was kind of just starting out.
Yeah, in the dental field, when everything was shut down, emergency procedures were only able to be performed at the time. The dental hygienist is part of the preventive medicine. And so we were actually off of work for 3 months. And so when we came back, we had to make up for those 3 months of patients, and we're feeling it. So we definitely are shortening appointments a little bit, not shortening care, just trying to get them in as anywhere we can. So it's been super busy trying to.
Jasmine, you went on mute.
Sorry, I was just going to say it gets really busy because we're trying to fit in 3 months of patients, and sometimes it's 8 to 10 patients a day for those 3 months in before this happens again, possibly. So it's been really busy, but we're trekking along.
Julie, do you also agree with your hours increasing?
So when in March, when kind of everything started happening, our office went gradually got less and less and less patients just because they were afraid to come in. And infertility is one of those things where, it's not in most cases, it's not absolutely necessary. So people stopped coming in, and our office just completely shut down for I think like 2 or 3 months as well. And right towards the middle of that, I was actually laid off with a group of people. So I lost my job completely, with several other nurse practitioners and even medical assistants. So it was really a very tough time for me. I've just recently, in the past few months, I have another job working for NIH, and I'm just waiting for the background clearance to come through. So I will start working again, but it's hard for me to comment again on how the hours would have changed. It was really, obviously, it came to a screeching halt in our office, and from what I hear, that they have been slow since then, but are picking back up again.
I'm really sorry to hear about that. You would have thought that more nurses and doctors would be needed, but this is crazy how much this pandemic has affected everyone's everyday life and their income, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Another question is the skill center, oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong question. Another question is, what is the craziest experience that you guys have had in your fields?
I wouldn't say craziest, but the most challenging time. I mean, for me, it's just people who haven't been in a really long time, and they're just eager to get everything done. And I always say to them, I mean, it's been 20 years. It's not going to take one day to fix everything. But I had a patient that literally after I completed the healthcare in their mouth, that it was a good chance that probably half of the teeth would probably be extracted because they were just not doing well. So that was the craziest experience because I didn't want to extract any teeth, but unfortunately after you clean teeth, that can happen because they're just not doing well in their mouth. But anyway, he was very grateful that I just was very good with him and patient, but it's a little scary, some of the things that you see in the mouth. But that's probably the craziest for me. I mean, you have health scares for people who are anxious and anxiety and scared of the dentist. So now huge. I mean, nurses would be excited. We take blood pressures all the time because it's crucial. But other than that, it's constantly scary.
Bethany or Julie, do you guys have any crazy experience?
Nothing. I mean, there's certain things that come to mind that I don't know are appropriate for this talk, but I think in the medical field, and I think everyone would agree with me that when you're dealing with people, there are always crazy things that will happen. And I think that's one of those things that make our jobs really interesting. I'm sure in the emergency room that she has a lot of interesting stories to tell us, but I think that's what makes our days interesting. It's not working in the business world. So I mean, there are always interesting, funny things that happen.
Yeah, I can think of a number of patients that stand out, but not sure how appropriate it would be. But if you want excitement in your job, the emergency department is definitely a one of a kind place to work. So no day is the same. You'll get some crazy stories there for sure. So it's never boring. It's busy, but it's never boring.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences, whether it's good or bad, crazy. That was amazing. Really cool stories. Some more questions are, how did you keep your financial stability during college? I know we briefly talked about this in regards to scholarship, but if you can talk a little bit more about it.
I think for me, I found a program that was geared towards continuing education. And so I'm working full time, and they have it at a pace where you can afford and get scholarship. Well, I didn't get any scholarships, but I did get help via loans. But finding programs that are just allowing you to take a couple of classes at a time to complete a degree, and I was just working full time with it. So doing it's a manageable load, and they help you. The counselors are amazing at helping you achieve that. I'm finishing up a degree completion in hygiene, and then off to the master's, and it's doable.
Okay, thank you so much. I definitely agree with it being doable, just as long as you persevere, even when hardships arise. So a question for Bethany is it hard to work under pressure? And did it take you a while to adjust to it?
Yeah, for me, have always kind of thrived under pressure. It's just my personality. I was like in multiple sports programs in high school and taking like all the AP classes. So I've always been a very busy person. But I like staying busy. And working under pressure, I feel like having a deadline and things like that kind of is what keeps me motivated to get, to stay on top of things. So I knew when I went into the medical field that I did want something a little bit more fast paced. Working in the emergency department is definitely a new type of pressure. It did take me a little while to get used to it. First year of working as a physician assistant, because you're so new to the profession, you're learning on the job. There's a lot of, you're being thrown into the field. So that was definitely an adjustment for me, but definitely doable. And once you kind of get your feet wet, it's very rewarding. It's a great atmosphere if you like that sort of pressure, fast-paced environment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. A question for Jasmine is, was it hard studying to be a dental hygienist? This person wants to be a dental hygienist, but they want to know what they're up against.
So that's going to be a great question, because I tell you what, I was the first person in my family to go to college. I'm from New York, and a family that nobody had attended college, and it was very difficult. And I thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And so I went into nursing school, and then I took my first hard class, microbiology, and the teacher was amazing. It was the most fun class. I loved it. I ended up getting an A, and I thought to myself, wow, I really second guessed myself, and I aced the course. And I thought, okay, let me keep on doing this. And the more I went through it, I realized that, you know, every class is the same. You just look what they're expecting, you keep on time with the work, and you read up on what you need to read, and everything is doable a little bit at a time. I was looking at it from the long term. I was like, I'm never going to get there. These people are taking courses that I don't think I can pass. And I looked at it one class at a time. I took my micro class. It gave me a chance to take another class. Now I'm taking classes that the dentists take, and I'm passing them. And now I'm wanting to go to dental school. So it happens. You just have to have confidence in knowing that we all get here somehow, some way. And it's definitely doable. You just have to read, see what the expectations are, and just be diligent with continuing with your passion. And if it's something that you want to do, you're going to do anything that it takes to get there. So I'm the first one that graduated college, so in my family, so it's doable. So I would say go for it. And it's a lot of fun.
Congratulations to you. That's a major accomplishment. Thank you for those kind words and advice, because that truly inspires a lot of people, myself included.
Good, thanks.
The question for Julie is, what advice would you give to a student transferring from an RN to an NPR?
An RN to what?
To a nurse practitioner.
Okay. So I think, this was something that was said when I was in school, and I'm not sure how well it pertains now, 20 years later, but it was always recommended to go ahead and get a couple of years of nursing experience under your belt before going back. I'm not sure if that's absolutely necessary. I know a lot of people just go straight from a bachelor's degree right into graduate school, and I think that's okay. It did help me personally. I think get some idea of what I wanted to do, and I think it gave me some knowledge and hands-on skills that I think would be really hard to replace later. But I think moving from one school to the other, I think it's going to get a little bit more difficult, and but I think it's absolutely doable. And like Jasmine said, I mean, I think if you really work hard, you'll be able to get there, and you want to do more.
Thank you so much, and I hope that answered your question. A question for Bethany is, if you can further explain the PA field, PA school, and how hard are the classes? The student is interested in becoming a physician assistant.
Sure. So the physician assistant program I went to get my master's, it was a 2-year program at Chatham University. Most programs are set up that the first year is didactic work, or your courses in the classroom. So a lot of anatomy, a lot of pharmacology. And then your second year of the program is the clinical work, which is a lot more exciting. So you're doing you're doing rotations in each of the main medical fields. So you have like your emergency medicine, family medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, etc. And then you also get to pick for my program, 2 fields that you were especially interested in, like elective fields. So you're rotating through those, doing hands-on clinical work with the physician assistant or medical doctor that you're with. You're getting to go into surgeries. So it's long hours. You're still having to study during that time, and you're still having to do coursework as well. But it's a lot more exciting of a year. It's the classes themselves for me were particularly hard because I was in a problem-based learning program. So if you are interested in the physician assistant field, look into what programs offer the PBL type learning, because it's not lecture-based. So it's something that you want to make sure that you feel like you'd be able to learn in that setting. But it's definitely doable. I kept telling myself it's 2 years of really hard work for like a lifetime of a great career, financially, you know, financially rewarding. It's mentally, emotionally rewarding. You can just power through it. You'll be able to do it. It's doable. It's hard work, but it's doable for sure.
Thank you so much. The last question, or the second to last question, is any advice to seniors applying to college this year?
Get good grades in your science classes. That's going to be an indicator of any of these health fields, just your sciences. If you're not interested in science, then you may not be interested in a health field, because that's crucial to most of these fields. I mean, a lot of the classes in the beginning intercept and pharmacology, like she said, pharmacology and psychologies and sciences. And I mean, they're all just pay a lot of attention and do well now. It'll save you, and math too. It'll save you some time later.
I would also, my advice would be specifically for the PA field, if you're interested in that, to look for college programs. Some of them have like dual programs available where you complete your undergrad and then complete your graduate, your master's as well. It's like instead of a 6-year period, you can complete it in 5 years. Which is something I didn't know about going into college. So it's if you know you want to go into the PA field, there's some options available like that out there.
Yeah, Bethany, same thing for the dental field. There's a program now that I'm in, I wish I knew about before, where the students in the dental hygiene program are already taking their bachelor classes online while they're still finishing their dental hygiene. So they're finishing quicker, and I'm having to do it in a year and a half. So definitely there's programs out there. You just got to find them.
Thank you all so much. So the last 2 questions I have for you are, the students want to know, how is it like when you guys first were at your jobs? How did you get along with your coworkers, and how did you handle your first day?
For me, I was actually the first PA in the field that I'm in. Like I was a new hire for this new position. So I actually ended up after being established in my role, I was the one who was training the new APPs that they hired. But I heavily relied on like the nursing staff and the resident staff to help me through that first year. As a new graduate PA, it's definitely it can be overwhelming. So having like good communication skills, asking your colleagues for help, for advice, especially when you're first starting out, making friends on the job, because these are the people you're going to be working with all day, every day. So it helps to somewhat like them, but just effective communication and being pleasant on the job goes a long way, especially when you're like starting out as a new grad provider.
Yeah, I think definitely realize when you're in a dental setting, it's a very personal and private setting, and you have to realize that you are now another provider. And that's the thing about it, that you have to gain the concept that you are a provider. So there's a lot to prove, but at the same time, understanding that you're part of a team as well. And one person doesn't get anything done alone. And so I rely heavily on like our dental assistant, who will help me come in if I'm running late and get something ready, or get x-rays that I need, or talking to the doctor about the patient and giving him all of the things that we found out during the appointment. So it's definitely a team approach. And as long as you are a team person, you would be fine, because it's difficult to do things alone. And if you have that relationship with your team members, things go a lot better. Everybody's, does their thing and does it well, and everybody has a job to do, and having that team approach works the best.
I would agree with that too. I've had multiple first days on the job. I was able to read for 10 years. And when I walked in there in a military environment, they threw me in, almost right away. They just said, all right, you see one, you do one. And, so it was a completely different environment than, for example, when I did family practice, and even at the private clinic where I've worked for the past 6 years, they sort of coddled me along. But, it's, I think everywhere is the same. I would agree with both Jasmine and Bethany that, you have to be, really nice. You have to be pleasant. You have to respect the people working below you. You have to really try to come in as a team player, and you will do fine if you follow those rules.
Thank you guys so much for answering all of our questions today and just letting us get to know who you guys are, your fields, and why it's essential being a medical professional. Thank you all so much for all of your questions in the chat. Today, I challenge each and every one of you to reflect on today's event, take notes, and take this advice to heart. Accomplish any goals that you may have set forward, and listen to all these 3 amazing ladies and how much support and information they have given us today. With that being said, this event session is concluded. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your days.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bring me down, bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high to bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you